yes. Ivan, you are first. You are first. You are first. You're first. Hey, Latrice. Hey, Latrice. Hey, Lori. Hello, 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 hello. Hey, come Miss Coltrane. Hey, guys. Latrice, you're a troublemaker. You know that, right? You know. All right, y'all. Let me there's something I want to share with you guys today. Let me share something with you guys. I got something to share as usual. As usual, got something to share with you guys. Got to share. Sharing is caring. That's what they say. Sharing is caring. Gotta wait for my folks to come on in. While I wait for them to come on in, I am going to play something for you guys. Hold up, wait a minute. Wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up, let me download it so you guys could have it. I'm going to download it. Let's see if it worked. Let me mute for a second. Just hold on a second. I'm downloading it so you guys could hear it. All right, so I'm going to close this out. And then I'm going to open it up for you guys. And hello. Hello, Henny Hen. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Darling, how are you?
Blessings. Good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, guys. I got something to share with you guys for a second. Remember the song that I shared with you the other day? Well, I got something to share right now. Hold on. Hold on, good people. Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna hold on. Gotta start. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta stop it and then I'm gonna share it, okay? I'm gonna stop it and I'm gonna share it. Are you ready, guys? Are you guys ready? Say I'm ready. Say I'm ready. Say I am ready, Sylvia.
I'm ready, Sylvia.
You too funny, you know that, right? All right, here we go. I gotta play this for you guys. And then I'm gonna share the screen and see if you open it up. The window. All right, here we go. I'm ready to share it. You guys see this? Do you see it, Henny Hen? Henny Hen, you see it? Here we go. I'm
Yep.
ready to share it. All right, here we go. I'm ready. Let me. Oh, wait a minute. Gotta remove this part here already. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? All right, here we go. Here we go. We'll play. Hold on now. Wait a minute, fellas. Wait a minute. I think it goes something like this. Whoa. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Cause every time. Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on now. Wait a minute, fellas. Wait a minute. I think it goes something like this. Whoa. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Cause every time I turn around, there's something trying to keep me down. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Oh, can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. When I look up, don't you know, burdens knocking at my door. So won't you come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Oh, come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Somebody come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Soon as I get up off the ground, burdens knock me right back down. Can somebody take these burdens off of me, off of me? Body, take these burdens off of me, off of me. Body, take these burdens off of me, off of me. Body, take these burdens off of me, off of me. Well, off of me, off of me. Oh, off of me, off of me. Well, off of me, off of me. Get them off of me, off of me. Come and break the chain, come and break the chain, off of me. Get it off of me, off of me. Get it off of me, off of me. I need somebody, I need somebody, I need somebody, I need somebody to get this burden off of me, to get this burden off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? All right now. How about that, y'all? How about that?
So beautiful.
Wasn't that awesome? Y'all want to hear it again?
Yes.
I'm trying to wait for all my people to get in. Come on, peeps, get in this chat. What's going on? Where you guys at? Where you guys at? Where my readers at? Where's my readers at? Where's my readers? Where's my readers? Come
Hey, hey,
on.
hey, did you
Hey,
send it?
y'all.
Did you send it to us?
What?
Whatever we're supposed to be reading.
You have it already, sir.
Do I have it already?
Yes, you do. August 31st.
Let me go check.
All right. You want me to send it again?
Hold on, let me check first. If I got this, no need. Hold on.
On that note, I'm going to share that song again. Y'all ready to hear it again? Are you
That was
guys
really
ready?
nice. Yeah, that was
Are y'all
good.
ready to hear it again? Say one more again. One more again.
I'll
Say it one
just
more again.
one more again.
One more
August
again.
3rd, August
Now, one
19th,
more again.
18th,
One more again.
26. No, I don't think I have the 31st.
Oh, you
One,
don't? Okay, let me get it for you. I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
two
All
more.
right, let me get it for you. I'm so excited, y'all. This is just a good day, isn't it? One more again.
Hmm.
Not again. One more again. Miss Lori is one more again. Not
One
again.
more
One more
again.
again. Oh, hold on a second. Let me see. One more again. That's what he's saying. He's asking, take these burdens off of me. One more time. Came in late. Okay, Susan. We're gonna get it over to you. Let me go send this thing over there to Mister over here. All right. Hold on. So Terry and Daddy Lolo. eh,
Did you get you some rest?
Heck no. Heck no. Let me just tell you that right now. No, no, no. I did not get any rest.
You
But
get my email, keep it to yourself. Did you get my email?
yes, I did. I got your
Okay.
email. I am keeping it to myself.
Okay.
Well, you crazy, you know that, right?
Oh, where?
Of course, you're crazy.
Inquiring minds.
Absolutely. All right, Daddy Lolo and sir, I just sent it to you guys.
Okay.
All right, here we go. You guys are great. You guys are great, 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 great. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome.
Okay, just received it. Downloading document. Save.
Latrice say one
That's
more kid. It's Friday, y'all. It's Friday.
it's Friday.
All right, here we go. We're going to do it one more time, y'all. You ready? One more again.
Hmm.
All right, here we go. One more again. That's my new language right here. Hold on.
One more again.
Hold on. I got to share. All right, let's put my disclosure out there, people. So we can hear it one more again. Uh-oh, where's it go? Where'd it go? Uh-oh, wait. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Where the other two go? Hold on, I gotta close some of these things. I got too many freaking windows open. Hold on, y'all. I gotta close all these freaking windows. There's too many windows open. Bring. Honey, you got kicked off too?
Yeah, but I think it's because I was texting.
Oh. I'm trying to get them. I had too many windows open, guys, and I didn't know which one it was that I was trying to get this thing out of. And it's like kind of got me mixed up here. So. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go, guys. We're going to share it now. Thank you for the purple love. There we go. Here we go, guys. Y'all ready? Ready? Am I sharing the hold on, just make sure I'm sharing the sound too. So just in case the sound would come up. Okay, there it is. I had to click the sound. There we go, y'all. We're cooking with grease now. We're cooking with grease.
Hold on now. Wait a minute, fellas. Wait a minute. Think it goes something like this. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Cause every time I turn around, something trying to keep me down. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Oh, can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. When I look up, don't you know, word is knocking at my door. So won't you come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Oh, come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Somebody come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Soon as I get up off the ground, burdens knock me right back down. Can somebody take these burdens off of me, off of me? Body, take these burdens off of me, off of me. Body, take these burdens off of me, off of me. Body, take these burdens off of me, off of me. Well, off of me, off of me. Oh, off of me, off of me. Well, off of me. Get it off of me. I need somebody. I need somebody. I need somebody. I need somebody to get this burden. To get this burden off me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me?
Bravo, bravo.
Somebody take these burdens off of me. Woo!
Off of me.
Somebody take this burden off of me.
Off of me.
Off of me.
What's up, panel? What's up?
Off of me.
Hello.
Can somebody take these burdens off of me?
Okay. That was good, Terry.
Oh, that's just a warm up. You hear the rest tomorrow.
All right, guys, y'all ready? We're on page. What page are we on?
2123.
2123.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you guys are ready. I am
21,
so
23.
sorry.
Let me go
My
find it.
apologies for being late, everybody. I had
She's
to.
been doing a lot.
Had meetings, had this, had that, has this, had that. Lady Coltrane, I've been down here long enough. I am Southern now. I'm a little Southern girl. You're
Let's see here.
welcome, Susan. Huh?
I still hear that New York accent that be
You still
coming
hear New
out.
York
But
at me? Okay,
oh
okay, okay.
yeah.
When I get mad, you hear the New York. You know that, right? You know
Okay.
that. Uh-oh. We got Canic in the house. Got another Canic in the house. Uh-oh.
Canic is here.
Terry looks at yo, dude. I don't know about you
Where
being
you
Canic.
It's all right. Share it. 21, 23. Hold on.
All right, guys. 2123 is the page we're going on,
109.
and it's August the 31st.
21, 14.
I'm looking for my judge. Where's my judge at? I might need somebody else to play the judge. You know what?
21.
Canic number 2. You could play the judge. Terry? I'll play the judge
Okay.
for me.
Canic 2, Canic 1, Canic 2. I'll play the judge.
Play the
21,
judge.
23.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
So I'm the court. I'm the court then,
Yes,
right?
you are the court.
Okay then. All right.
All right.
You said page 21, 22?
23.
21, 23.
21, 23.
Wait, let me clean the glasses. Clean these fingerprints off my spectacles. Hold on, my
Where's
readers.
Tanya? Where's Tanya? Thought she was coming in. Let me go get her. Hold on a second. Let me go get Tanya.
It kind of starts at the bottom on 24.
What line?
Line 24.
Line 24.
Yeah.
Thank you there, Henny.
21, 22.
Okay. 21, 22 at the bottom.
Yep. Line 24.
Okay.
23. I'm sorry. Line 23.
Okay, where we at? Okay. Oh, jeez. I hate when I do that. Touch the thing. 21. And it just flies all the way back. That's 21, 14. 21, 21. 21, 22. Line 23. Okay. Which is going to be who is your next witness?
Yep.
Correct. Good. Thank you, dear.
Hold on a second. Put it up.
I need somebody. I need somebody.
Take that. Go ahead, sing it. Take this burden off of me. Off of me.
Off of me.
It's like that catchy lyrics, y'all. It's catchy, very very catchy. You know what? We gotta hear it one more time. Y'all want to hear it one more time?
Go on, play it, sister.
One more time. One more again.
Somebody take these burdens off of me.
You sound just
Off
like
of
it
me.
too.
Uh,
Hold on, y'all. We
can
got Can somebody take this burden off of me? Off of me.
offer me.
Can somebody take this burden off of me? All right, here we go. One more time, y'all. Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ready? Hold on now. Wait a minute, fellas. Wait a minute. I think it goes something like this. Whoa. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can somebody take these burdens off of
Oh,
me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Cause every time I turn around, there's something trying to keep me down. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Oh, can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me? Off of me. When I look up, don't you know, burdens knocking at my door. So won't you come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Oh, come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Somebody come and take these burdens off of me, off of me. Soon as I get up off the ground, burdens knock me right back down. Can somebody take these burdens off of me, off of me? Somebody take these burdens off of me, off of me.
offer me.
Somebody take these burdens off of me, off of me.
Offer me. Mm-hmm.
Somebody take these burdens off of me, off of me. Well, off
Mm-hmm.
of me, off of me. Oh, off of
Mm-hmm.
me, off of me. Well,
Mm-hmm.
off of me,
You got my bar right here.
off of me, off of me. Come and
Mm-hmm.
break the chain. Come and break the chain. Off of me. Get it off of me. Off of me. Get it off of me. Off of me. I need somebody. I need somebody. I need somebody. I need somebody to get this burden. Off of me. To get this burden off of me. Can somebody take these burdens off of me?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in church. Amen. Now, Pastor, do you want to open up the word of the Lord? Let me stop. Because that's the way I feel.
And the word today will be coming from.
All right, guys, let's get started.
Sister, can you get my water for me, please?
Hey, okay, let's stop playing. We play too much, you know that, right?
It's fine. Hey.
Life is
Yeah,
so
I'm sorry. I didn't know this was tonight. Y'all was going to read. I'm in the wrong room again or the wrong chat again.
but you can read if you want to.
No, I'm good. I'm
Come
good.
on.
She
We
said, "I'm good."
Yeah, I'm
we
gonna
need
let you. I'm gonna bounce out again and let y'all. I'm gonna be listening though.
All right, doll.
All
Thank you
right.
for your
Can
present.
somebody make this sister start to read? Start to
Got to
read.
read. That's this.
Okay,
No,
start to read.
Plus, I
Start
don't
to
have the
read.
transcript anyway.
I was about to send it to you. You know you got it. I sent it to all of them. Don't even try it. Don't.
Nuh-uh. I only got maybe three, I think. Three or
No,
four of
no,
them you sent
no,
me.
no, 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 no. I can guarantee I
Mm-mm.
can make a bet with you on that one.
Okay, let's bet.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
But let me send you this one right now so you could
So you
have no
want us to
excuse.
mm-hmm.
Exactly.
who's gonna be Faith? Will you please be Faith?
Yeah, she could be Faith.
I've been drinking. Y'all don't want me reading nothing right now. I'll be all off
Hey.
script.
Be nice. I know what you're about to say. Be nice.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No, I was talking about Mister over there.
Who?
Oh,
You know
Me?
who? Yeah, you.
Me? Oh
Hmm.
no, I was gonna make a song. And when you get that transcript, sister, start to read. Start to read.
Won't be able to do it. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
There go Nakia. Nakia's coming in. She's coming into the rescue. Nakia coming to the rescue. Okay, Nakia, you got it?
Hello. Who am I?
Faith.
Oh shit. Okay. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, what?
She said spit.
Yeah.
All right, y'all ready,
Okay.
guys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. We got readers up in the house. There go Tanya. We got all of y'all up in here. Okay,
Is Tanya usually our court lady? No. Hello.
Tanya. Yeah, she's been the court lady
Oh, I
before.
don't like
Yeah.
talk because it make
Tanya
me
play with
nervous thinking my string dropped, and I know I didn't change.
Tanya. You want to be the court, and you and mechanic. You just take anything, everything.
I just fill in, huh?
Fill it
Just
in.
fill
Yes.
in where I need to fill in.
Yes. All right, guys.
Okay.
Y'all ready? Let's get this
Yeah.
started. They've been waiting
Yes,
long
ma'am.
enough.
22, 22, line 23, right, Henny?
Yes, sir.
Tanya? Is that Tanya? I think I was saying it was
21,
Tanya.
22.
21, 22, line 23.
Correct.
Tanya, you ready?
I got to get to the page first.
Tanya, you ready? Is she there? Yeah, she there. Can you hear us, Tanya? Go ahead, sir. Since
Want me
she's not,
going to do it?
yeah, she's not ready.
Okay, here we go. And action. Who is your next witness?
The next witness is Faith. Courtroom deputy.
Who's that going to be?
You.
Please raise your right hand.
Faith.
I'm
I do.
sorry. I do.
You may be seated. Just a couple of things before we begin. Our court reporter takes down everything that you say, so it's important that you not speak too quickly or talk or whichever lawyer is asking you questions. And then if any one of the lawyers asks you a question that you want to have clarified or that you don't understand, you just let me know. I'll direct them to rephrase the question. Finally, just do your best to answer all the questions that you're being asked. Okay? All right. Go ahead. Just tap it and make sure it works. It's important that you're speaking into the microphone.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Faith called to the witness have been first duly sworn, affirmed, and examined and testified as follows. I'm showing you what is marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 79 for the witness only. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
See, now I'm not ready.
21, 24,
Yeah,
line 2.
my pages are sticking together.
Mm.
Got it. Who is this a photograph of?
Me.
I move to submit Government's Exhibit 79.
No objection, but I'm having a little bit difficult time hearing that. I just can't hear her.
I don't think she said anything yet. Can you tap it one more time? Make sure you're speaking right into it. Go ahead.
You said this is a photograph of you. Is that correct?
Correct.
If there is no objection, move to admit it.
Yes.
May we publish it?
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what is marked for identification, Government's Exhibit 79A. Is this the same photograph I just showed you with your first and last name underneath?
Correct.
And the government moves to admit government's Exhibit 79A to the jury only.
No objection.
That's in evidence. Jury only.
I'm showing you what is in evidence as government's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Who do you recognize that to be?
Robert Kelly.
Have you met Robert Kelly in person?
Yes.
Do you see Robert Kelly in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you point him out and identify him by an item of clothing he's wearing?
It's a blue jacket.
Indicating the defendant.
What and where did you first meet the defendant?
I first met him in San Antonio, Texas, at the Tobin Center.
What was going on at the Tobin Center that day?
He was performing.
Do you recall around when it was that you were at the Tobin Center?
Around March 2017.
How old were you then?
19.
To your knowledge, how old was the defendant when you met him?
50.
After meeting the defendant on March 17th in San Antonio, did you thereafter begin traveling to see the defendant after that?
Yes.
When you saw the defendant, were there occasions when the defendant engaged in sexual contact with you?
Yes.
Around when did you first travel to see the defendant?
Around May of 2017.
Around when was the last time you traveled to see the defendant?
Around February 2018.
At any point during the time that you communicated and traveled to see the defendant, did he tell you he had herpes?
He did not.
At any point during your sexual interactions with the defendant, did he wear a condom?
No.
Did these sexual interactions include sexual intercourse?
Yes.
During the course of time that you saw and communicated with the defendant, what, if any, different sides of the defendant did you see?
I got to see a compassionate side of him, emotional side. He wasn't always bad. He wasn't always mean. Very normal, like sometimes I felt like I was conversing with somebody I went to school with, my age.
What other sides did you see of him?
I also saw him. Um, there were times where he would flip just extremely calm, then go like being super sexually hyper. Just different phases, just dependent on how he was feeling and the moods he was in.
Stepping back for a moment, how old are you?
24 years old,
Where did you grow up?
San Antonio, Texas.
How far did you go in school?
I finished high school and I have some college experience, education.
How long were you enrolled in college?
About a year.
Why did you leave college?
I just decided school wasn't for me.
Do you have any siblings?
I do.
How many siblings do you have?
6.
Are they all Are some of those half siblings?
Yes. I have 5 half siblings and 1 full blooded little sister.
What do your parents do?
My mom owns a daycare. My dad is a supervisor for the school district, as well as a pastor.
Directing your attention to March of 2017, how old were you again at that time?
19 years old.
You testified that in March 2017 you attended a concert. Is that correct?
Correct.
Whose concert did you attend?
R. Kelly.
Again, where did the concert take place?
San Antonio, Texas, at the Tobin Center.
Showing the witness only government's exhibit 508. Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is this?
The Tobin Center.
I can't hear anybody. I'm gonna leave out and come right back in.
Okay.
Okay.
I move to admit government's Exhibit 508.
No objection.
Court.
Okay. It's in. You can publish it.
Is the Tobin Center a theater venue?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, did you attend the Art Kelly concert at the Tobin Center with?
I went with my older sister.
Approximately how old was your older sister at the time?
Around 36 years old.
Was this your half sister?
Yes.
How did you end up attending the Art Kelly concert with your older sister?
She called me one day and she just said that she had tickets. He was in town and she had no one to go with. If I would go with her.
Did you agree to go?
I did.
Were you a Art Kelly fan at the time?
I was not.
How about your sister? Was she a fan?
She was.
Where did you sit for the concert at the venue?
We were seated in some seats like far away from the stage. Then, once we got there, I decided we should move closer because we couldn't see. So we moved closer.
Where did you end up sitting when you moved closer?
We were like in the middle section, not too close to the stage, but we weren't far.
Did you stay for that whole concert?
We did.
Did you enjoy the concert?
We did.
What, if anything, happened at the end of the concert?
Towards the end of the concert, two young ladies approached me and my sister with wristbands in their hand, and they had let me know he was having an after party backstage. Just bring me and my sister, no one else. Make sure we show them our wristbands.
When you say he was having an after party, who is the he?
R. Kelly.
What, if anything, were the two individuals that approached you wearing?
Shirts with his face on it, and on the back it said staff.
Again, his face being the defendant.
R. Kelly's correct.
What, if anything, did they give you?
A wristband.
What, if anything, did you do after getting a wristband from the individuals?
After we got the wristbands, the concert was about to be over. So I went to go get my car out of valet. And my sister, she went ahead and went backstage.
Why did you go get your car out of LA?
Because valet was going to be closing.
And about how long did it take you to get your car out of the valet?
About an hour.
Where did you go after about an hour?
After I returned back to the front door of the venue, I showed them my wristband and they showed me backstage.
Where were you taken backstage?
So we were taken back to like a dressing room part, a really big dressing room.
Did you go inside?
We did.
What was the atmosphere in the dressing room when you got there?
When we got there, it was mainly all women. There was a few men in the room. The men that were in the room, they were his staff. They had on staff shirts with his face on it as well. And I would say probably like maybe 30 women in there. Some of them I saw from the concert because they were sitting on stage on the couch, and some I had never seen before.
Was your sister there?
Correct.
Was music playing?
There was music playing.
Was there any alcohol being served?
Yes, Ciroc was being served.
Anyone check your ID before you went to the dressing room?
No,
When you first got to the dressing room, was the defendant there?
no, he was not.
At some point while you were in the dressing room, did the defendant show up?
He did.
What happened at that point?
When he came in, he kind of just stood there at first. And everybody, all the women in the room, got excited. They all ran up to him. They all had their phones out ready to record. Right away, he said, "No phones." Everybody put their phones away. And after that, they all just formed a line to give him a hug.
Did you get in the line?
I did not.
How about your sister? Did she get in the line?
She did.
What, if anything, did you do while your sister was in the line to meet the defendant?
After my sister was in line, I was waiting for her to come back, holding her spot for her.
Did your sister end up meeting the defendant?
She did.
What, if anything, did you and your sister do after she stood in the line and met the defendant?
After she stood in line, we continued to be off to ourselves. We were singing, dancing to the music, and he came towards me.
When you say he, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
And what happened next?
He came towards me and my sister. We were we were sitting, and there was a chair behind me. He sat behind the chair. I stopped dancing when he sat in the chair. He said, "You don't have to stop now."
How, if at all, did you respond?
I looked at him. I laughed it off. Right away, he smiled back. Quick hi. And shortly after that, he handed me a piece of paper with his phone number.
Who handed you the piece of paper?
R. Kelly.
What, if anything, did he say to you when he handed you the piece of paper?
He told me to grab his hand. When I grabbed his hand, there was a piece of paper with his number on it. And he was like, "When I give you the paper, don't make a big deal about it or tell anybody I gave it to you." He told me to text him the numbers and a picture of myself. So he knew it was me. I just nodded and said okay.
At some point after you received the piece of paper from the defendant, did you look at it?
Yes, later that night,
What was on the piece of paper?
two of his two of his phone numbers.
You testified earlier that you ultimately saw the defendant. After meeting the defendant at this concert, you ultimately saw him on various occasions until about February of 2018, correct?
Correct.
During the course of of time, did the defendant provide you with additional phone numbers for him in addition to the of two of you got that evening at the concert?
Yes.
I'm showing the witness only what is marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 206A. This is a two-page document. I'm going to show you the first page, then the second page. Do you recognize these pages?
Yes.
Generally speaking, what are they?
His phone numbers on my cell phone.
Are these photographs of the defendant's phone numbers in your cell phone?
Correct.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 206A.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
May we publish?
Yes.
Looking first at the first 206A, are these four numbers saved here?
Yes.
And what is it saved under?
Don't reply times 3.
Did you always have the defendant's numbers saved in your phone under don't reply times 3?
No.
What did you previously have the number saved under in your phone?
Daddy.
Now, how do we know that to be the truth? I'm showing the second page of Government's Exhibit 206A. Is there one number here under a name? Don't reply.
Yes.
Whose phone number is that?
R. Kelly.
When you initially saved this phone number in your phone, did you have it under don't reply?
No.
Do you recall what you had it saved under?
Daddy.
Going back to when the defendant handed you a piece of paper in the dressing room with his phone numbers on it, what, if anything, happened after the defendant handed you that piece of paper?
After he handed me the piece of paper, he had invited me and my sister back to his room for food. My sister wanted a picture as well, so we ending ended up going to his dressing room.
When you say we ended up going to his dressing room, who are you referring to?
My sister and I.
Who took you? Withdrawn. Was that a separate dressing room than where you had been with the other people initially backstage?
Yes,
Who
it
t-
was his. It was his personal dressing room we were going to.
who took you there?
R. Kelly and his staff.
Once you got that second dressing room, was anyone else there?
No.
What happened once you got to the second dressing room?
When I got to the dressing room, it was just him, me, and my sister. We were sitting down. The first thing he did was ask me if I sing, if I model, if I acted, I danced, anything I was into. And I let him know at the time, no, just school. That's it. He said, he asked if we were sisters. We said yes. He asked who was older, things like that. He asked if she sung or she did anything. She told him she sung. The conversation, it wasn't that long. He was informing us about some new stuff he was working on, showing pictures of Rihanna wearing his t-shirt with his face on it. I guess just giving me updates of what was going on at the time. He played some new tracks from his phone. We got to hear new music. It was a friendly conversation.
You said you were telling him you were in school, correct?
Yes,
Were you in school at the time?
yes.
What were you studying at the time?
Generally study. I was enrolled in UTSA.
Did he ask you questions about your schooling?
No,
While you were up in the second dressing room, did you take any photos?
yes.
Can you tell the jury about that?
We ended up taking a photo with him, with my sister, R. Kelly, and I, at the end of the night.
I'm showing you what is marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 209. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
What do you recognize this photo to be?
Me, R. Kelly, and my sister.
And is that in that second dressing room you've testified about that you went to with the defendant, you and your sister?
Yes.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 209.
No objection.
Okay, that's an evidence. You can publish.
Thank you. Now, while you were in the dressing room, in the second dressing room, with the defendant and your sister that evening, what, if anything, did the defendant say to you about keeping in touch?
He just reminded me to send him a picture of myself and my name so he won't so he wouldn't forget it.
Now, at some point, did you leave the Tobin Center?
Yes.
And where did you go after you left?
I dropped my sister off and then I went home.
And who, if anyone, were you living with at the time?
My parents,
And was there anyone else living in that household other than your parents?
my younger sister.
And how old was she at the time?
She was around 14.
Now, you said you drove your older sister to her house. Is that right?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you tell your older sister about your interaction with the defendant that evening?
When we got in the car, I told her that he had gave me his phone number and right away she was super excited. She was like, out of all the girls in there, like he looked at you. She told me like I should feel special. She was really more excited than I was.
And again, she was an R. Kelly fan. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you recall around what time you got home that night?
I got home around like 1:45, 2 a.m. almost.
So, early morning hours after the concert.
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do when you got home?
I had texted him my name and a picture, a selfie of myself.
And when you say him, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
And what kind of, you said you text him a selfie?
Yes.
What kind of selfie did you text him?
It was a picture of me smiling, a smiling picture.
Of your face?
It was like full body. You could see my outfit, my face, everything.
Okay. And is that a picture that you already had or one that you took for for that purpose?
No, it was a picture I already had.
What kind of phone did you have at that time?
A iPhone.
An Apple iPhone?
Yes.
All right. At some point after you sent the selfie with your name to the defendant, at some point did you get a response from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And when did you first notice the response?
When I had woke up,
And what do you remember about that?
he was very friendly. He said he remembered me, said I was pretty, complimented me, and he had invited me to come where he was at in San Antonio.
And do you remember anything about where he invited you in San Antonio?
He said he was going to a studio in San Antonio.
And did you take him up on the invitation?
No.
Now, following those initial texts, was that by text message, by the way?
Yes.
And following those initial text messages, you exchanged with the defendant what, if any, types of communication did you have with the defendant after that?
After that, we continued with texting. Then it moved to phone calls. And then shortly after phone calls, we started FaceTiming.
And the text messages, did that include iMessages?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned phone calls and FaceTime. Is that right?
Yes.
What is FaceTime?
FaceTime is video chatting.
Now, do you recall the substance of any of these initial communications that you had with the defendant in the days after the concert?
The first initial conversation were very warm. He was he seemed really down to earth. Like, that's what surprised me. He seemed really down to earth. He was just telling me about himself, saying how he likes to spend his time, enjoying his time. In the beginning, he didn't ask a few questions. He didn't ask a few questions about me. You know, what I like to do, what I was into, if I had a boyfriend, things like that. Basic questions.
Now, did you end up seeing the defendant again at all in San Antonio?
I did not.
Now, in those initial communications you had with the defendant by phone, how, if at all, did the defendant refer to himself on the phone calls?
He refers to himself as daddy.
And about how soon after you had met him did he do that?
Right away. Probably like the next day, but he was saying it through text. It wasn't me hearing him call himself that.
At some point, did the defendant say to you anything about what he wanted you to call him?
Yes, he would like to be referred to as daddy.
And initially, did you do that?
No.
And what happened when you didn't do that?
There was a time when I did not refer to him as daddy, and he had called me and he said, "Hey baby." And I said, "Hey." He said, "Let's try this again." And he hung up the phone.
And then what happened?
And then he called again. He said, "Hey, baby." I said, "Hey, daddy." He said, "Good girl."
And after that happened, did you call the defendant daddy?
I did.
Now, in those initial communications with the defendant by phone, did he compliment you?
Yes.
What kinds of things did he say to you?
I was beautiful. I was pretty. Things a girl wants to hear, of course.
And how did that make you feel?
Nice. It made me feel like I was pretty.
After defendant left San Antonio, about how often were you communicating with him?
After he left San Antonio, the communication, it was like I heard from him every other day. And then maybe like a week later, it started turning into every day. And then we moved to phone, FaceTime. That's when it became more consistently.
When, if at all, did the defendant tell you he loved you?
The first week.
This is just ridiculous. After you had first met him,
Yes,
and how many times had you met him in person at that point?
once.
How, if at all, did you respond?
I said, "Really?" I didn't say I love you back right away at all. Like later on, towards our relationship, further in, I did, but not right away.
In your communications with the defendant, how, if at all, did the topic of your traveling to see him come up?
He had informed me that he was on a tour right now, or excuse me, at the time he was on tour. So he was just saying his schedule was kind of crazy. But whenever I wanted to come see him, I could. And he just said that we could arrange the days or just let him know when I wanted to come hang out. But that it would be fun. I will get to see I would get to see, you know, how it is, how he is on tour, things like that.
And did he say anything to you about who you should contact to set that up?
Yes. He told me that his assistant Diana, he would give me her phone number and I would just text her and let her know when I wanted to come and she would arrange it.
And at some point, did you contact Diana?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall around when that was?
That was around April of 2017, I believe.
And why did you contact Diana?
I had spoke with R. Kelly about coming to a show, so I had messenger.
And where in April, directing your attention to April 2017, where were you planning to travel to see the defendant?
I was supposed to be going to Chicago.
And you testified you contacted Diana. Is that right?
Yes,
And did she make any arrangements for you?
she did.
And by the way, how did you contact Diana? In what manner?
We were texting.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 206B. Do you recognize this? Do you recognize this?
My screen is black.
Sorry.
Do you see anything on your screen now?
Yes,
Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 206B?
yes.
And what is that?
A photo of a screenshot of Diana's contact in my phone.
One moment. And so, this is a screenshot of the number you had saved for Diana on your phone.
Correct.
Move to admit Government's Exhibit 206B.
No objection.
Okay. It's in evidence.
And if we could publish it to the jury only, please. And this number that begins with area code 248, was that the number you used to communicate with Diana?
Yes,
Now, did you end up traveling to see the defendant in April of 2017?
I did not.
And why not?
I was sent the wrong plane ticket.
And when you say you were sent the wrong plane ticket, what do you mean? And without referring to,
I was sent someone else's plane ticket.
how, if at all, did you react after? Sorry, do you recall how you were sent the wrong plane itinerary or ticket?
Diana had sent me the wrong plane ticket
Was that by email?
through text. No, excuse me, through email.
And how, if at all, did you react after receiving the email with the itinerary or ticket in someone else's name?
I had informed Diana she sent me the wrong plane ticket. She said she would fix it. And I had let Mr. Kelly know that I had been sent somebody else's plane ticket.
Were you upset about that?
A little, like weirded out.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 234B. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes,
And is this an email you received from Diana Copeland on April 20th of 2017?
yes,
And does the subject line indicate flight reservations for a date in April from ATL to MDW with of a female's name listed?
yes,
And is that the flight ticket or itinerary that you received that you just testified about receiving from Diana?
yes.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 234B and for the jury only.
No objection.
Okay, it's in evidence.
And may we publish it to the jury, please?
Yes,
And the name that the ticket that you sent, that was sent to you by Diana, is that where I'm pointing my finger towards the end of the subject line?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on, hold on, hold on. My screen is black.
Oh, sorry. Do you see where I'm pointing?
Yes,
Without saying the name, is that the name the ticket was sent to?
yes,
You. Now, I think you testified when you received that ticket in another woman's name, you were weirded out. Is that right?
yes.
Quit lying. You was jealous. And how, if at all, did you express how you felt to the defendant after getting that email?
I had spoken with Mr. Kelly on the phone, and I just, in so many words, I let him know, like, I don't really like that. I felt like that was kind of off. If this was our first meeting up, and right away he told me, he's kind of like laughed at me that anybody he has around him that they're his friends. Like he has like he always has friends around him and that I shouldn't be upset about a friend. Basically, that this is who he is and a part of his lifestyle. That's a lot of people hang around him and they want to be in contact with him. And that if I wanted to be around him, I I can't be insecure or worried about things that don't have anything to do with me.
And did you continue to communicate with the defendant after that?
Yes.
When, if ever, did the topic of traveling to see the defendant come up again?
It came up again next month.
And where were you planning to travel to see the defendant at that time?
This time I was planning on going to New York.
And who brought up the topic of planning to see him again or traveling to see him again?
He he did.
And you testified you were planning to travel to New York, is that right?
Yes.
What, if anything, did the defendant say to you about what was going on in New York at the time you were planning to be?
He had informed me that he was having a show in New York and that he would like for me to come and hang out. It was going to be fun. So I said yes.
Now, after you and the defendant talked about traveling to the show in New York, who, if anyone, did you contact after that?
After we had discussed the dates, I contacted Diana to arrange my travel.
And did Diana arrange for you to fly to New York to see the defendant?
Yes, she did.
And did you in fact travel to New York?
Yes, I did.
And how did you communicate with Diana regarding that first trip to New York?
We were texting.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 208A, and this is a 3-page document. Can you see the document on your screen?
Yes.
I'm starting with with showing you the first page, second page, and the third page. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 208A?
Yes.
And generally speaking, what is contained within Government's Exhibit 208A?
Text messages between Diana and I.
And are these the text message specifically related to your trips to New York?
Yes.
And I move to admit Government's Exhibit 208A.
No objection.
That's in evidence.
Now, around when was it that you were traveling to New York to see the defendant?
May 18th,
Of what year?
2017.
And how old were you then?
19.
Had you ever been to New York before?
No.
Have you ever been on a plane before?
Once before.
Who, if anyone, paid for your flight to New York?
R. Kelly paid for my flight.
And did you have a direct or connecting flight to New York?
It was a connecting flight.
And where did it come through? Where did it connect through? Sorry.
Nashville.
And who, if anyone, did you communicate with on your way to New York?
Diana and R. Kelly.
And why were you communicating with Diana while you were on your way?
He told me to let her know every time I stopped and when I landed. Let her know basically every time I stop or get somewhere so she can be aware.
When you say he, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
Now, looking at Government's Exhibit 208A, the texts are these texts again with Diana?
Yes.
And the texts in green on the first page are those texts that you sent to Diana.
Yes.
And the first one, what does that say?
Just landed in Nashville.
And moving down to the second text in green, what is it that you wrote to Diana there?
Do you know the plan for when I arrive?
And where were you when you sent that text?
I was in Nashville.
On that layover?
Yes.
Prior to getting to New York, did you know precisely what the plan was?
No.
All right. And then there's another text in green. Is that from you to Diana again that says, my flight is about to land?
Yes.
And it says that was not delivered. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you recall where you were when you sent that?
Landing on the plane.
All right. Did you then at some point receive a response from Diana?
Yes.
And what was where did she tell you to go once you landed?
Hilton, Long Island.
And is that in the message here? Hilton, Long Island, Huntington, 598 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York, 11747.
Yes.
And what else did she inform you of in that text message?
A room is under my name at the hotel for 2 nights.
And was that the Hilton for 2 nights?
Yes.
Now, after you arrived at the airport, how did you get to the hotel?
Uber.
And what, if anything, happened when you got to the hotel?
Once I arrived at the hotel, there was an issue with the getting me in the hotel room with whoever name it was up under.
And I'm showing you page 2 of Government's Exhibit 208A. What do you, after you had an issue checking in at the hotel?
Text Diana.
And again, on page 2, are the texts in green the texts from you to Diana?
Yes.
And the texts in gray from Diana to you?
Yes.
And who did she tell you the your room, the name your room was under?
Hers.
And what was her full name?
Diana Copeland.
Did you ultimately check into the room?
Yes.
And after you checked in, what if anything did you ask Diana?
I asked her if I needed to get ready for anything.
Again, at that point, did you know what the plan was once you arrived?
No, I just knew he had a concert.
And did Diane respond to you?
Yes.
And what did she let you know?
That there were not that they were not there yet, and that the show is starting at 8 o'clock.
And did she let you know where the venue for the show was?
Yes, she did.
And what was the venue for the show?
Theater at Westbury, 96 Bush Hollow Road, Westbury, New York.
And is that indicated here in the text message
Correct.
towards the middle of page 3? And it is 960 Brush Hollow Road
Correct.
in Westbury, New York.
Correct.
Did you ultimately go to that venue?
Yes.
And how did you get there?
Uber.
And who got you the Uber to go to the venue?
Diana.
I'm showing the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 516. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
The theater at Westbury.
And is that the venue you went to that night to see the defendant show?
Yes.
I move to admit Government's 516.
No objection.
That's an evidence.
And may I publish it?
Okay.
Now, where did you go once you got to the theater at Westbury?
Once I arrived, I went up to the will call box to meet Diana.
And did you, in fact, meet Diana there?
Yes.
I'm showing the Government's Exhibit 36, which is in evidence. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
Who is it?
Diana Copeland.
And is that who you met at will call that day?
Yes.
And is that who you have been communicating with, making your arrangements to New York and while in New York?
Yes.
Now, once you met Diana at the will call area, what happened?
Once I met Diana at the will call, she came to get me and she walked me backstage
Where did she take you?
to his dressing room,
Whose dressing room?
R. Kelly's dressing room.
And what happened when you got to the dressing room?
When I got to the dressing room, I was just waiting for a little bit, not long.
And what happened next?
He came in after getting a haircut. He was like full of energy. He was like, stand up, turn around. He's like, you look so pretty. You look amazing, complimenting me. I said, thank you. There was like a brief pause and he like, give me a kiss. So I kind of like reached in for a peck. And when I pecked back, he like jerked his head back at me and he looked at me. He was like, you're not doing it right. And he grabbed my face and gave me a tongue kiss, like a really big tongue kiss. And it was just kind of awkward. I was like, slight pause, and he's like, I'm going to have to teach you how to kiss.
And the he you are referring to there, is that the defendant?
Yes.
After this slightly awkward kiss situation, what happened?
Shortly after that, Diana came back and told him that it was almost time to get ready. So she had came back and escorted me to where I was going to be seated.
Where did she escort you to?
The front, like about the second row, close to the stage.
And was there anyone else in that row with you?
Just security.
And when you say just security, where were they in relation to you?
So if I'm sitting right here, security is about on the last chair over there. They were still far away.
Did you watch the concert?
I did.
And how, if at all, did the defendant engage with you during the concert?
There was a few times he was like singing directly at me, making eye contact. That was one. He was singing and he pointed. He was interacting with me a lot, actually on the stage.
And how did that make you feel?
I was flattered at the time.
What, if anything, happened after the concert ended?
After the concert ended, Diana, she came up to me and she let me know that he was going backstage to the after party and she would that she would call me an Uber to take me back to the hotel.
And did she call you an Uber?
She did.
So did you go to the after party that night?
I did not.
And what happened after Diana called you an Uber?
There was some type of complication. I don't know what happened, but I ended up just calling myself one and getting it.
And where did you go once you called yourself an Uber?
Returning back to the hotel,
Where did what did you do when you got back to the hotel?
I showered and went to sleep.
What do you recall? Do you recall what you wore to sleep that night?
I had like loose shorts on, pajama shorts, and an oversized t shirt.
Until about what time did you sleep that night?
From about like 12 in the morning until about 6 in the morning.
What happened at 6 a.m.?
I received a phone call. He told me he was about to come up. And then, like a couple of seconds later, he said, knock, knock, a heavy knock on my door.
And what happened after that?
I opened the door for him. He comes in.
Let me stop you for a moment. When you say he and him, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
All right, continue.
R. Kelly comes in the door. He opens the door and he looks at me. He's like, why you got them pajamas on? He comes in. The AC was on maybe about like 70. He turns it all the way up to 80 something. He says he can't have the heat. Excuse me, the air on him. He comes in, he asks me to turn on ESPN on the sports channel for him. And there was a chair. He throws his stuff on the chair and he strips down from waist down. Only waist down, he strips down. And he sits down and he's kind of just pausing for a moment. And he asked me again why I had those clothes on. He told me to take them off. I didn't right away, but eventually I ended up taking my clothes off. And I was in a bra and panties. I wasn't nude. And he asked me, he said, come rub on daddy. And he's sitting there with his legs open. But I go to his shoulders and I start massaging his shoulders. And as I was massaging his shoulders, he takes my arm, excuse me, my wrist, and puts it on his penis. And he says, No, right here. Rub right here. And he rubs the motion back and forth. And right away I let him know, because I wasn't touching him, that I wasn't ready for sex. That wasn't something I was ready for. And he says, "Well, I'm at my best when I'm wanted."
And when the defendant said to you, I'm at my best when I'm wanted, what did you take that to mean at that time?
I understood that he was implying that it would be better when I was comfortable, that he had understood what I was saying.
Meaning he understood that you weren't ready for sex?
Yes,
Now, just to back up for a moment, I think you testified that when he came in, he had a bag with him. Is that right?
yes.
What kind of bag?
He had a Gucci backpack on on it with, excuse me, a Gucci backpack. There was like patchwork, like a UFO on it.
And are you describing a line that Gucci had at the time?
Yes,
Now, when you testified that the defendant came in and at some point stripped down from the waist. Is that right?
correct.
Where in the room did that happen, if you recall?
There was a chair, and it was the room was not that big. He was just closer to the chair. We weren't on the bed. He was standing up.
And when you say he stripped down, what do you mean by that?
He took off his pants. He took off his underwear. The only thing he had on was just a jacket, no shoes, no underwear, nothing.
And what part of his body was exposed?
His penis.
And you testified that he said to you, come rub on daddy. Is that right?
Correct.
And what, if anything, did you do after he said that?
After he asked me to come rub on daddy, I started massaging his shoulders, his upper body.
And how did he react to that?
He moved my hand on his penis and told me to rub there.
Did you want to rub there at that time?
No.
Miss Shahada, if this is a good time, we might as well take our afternoon break.
Sure, yeah.
Hello? Oh. All right, folks, we're going to take our break for this afternoon. Please do not talk about the case at all. I will see you in a few minutes. All rise. All right, everybody can have a seat. The witness can step out. We'll see you in about 10 minutes. Anything before we break?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so I will see you in about 10 minutes. All rise. Everybody can sit down, all right. Let's get the witnesses, please.
Judge, there's just one thing I'd like to do before the witness comes in,
Sure.
which is just enter into evidence some business records pursuant to.
Do you have to do this in front of the jury? I do not care, but
Yeah, I think I probably should.
makes sense. All right. So don't so why don't we get the witnesses and you can do it while she's there. We have to go. We have got to wait for it.
They're going to restroom, actually.
Okay. Might as well get started. We would have to wait for Mr. Scholar.
I think I sent him a text.
That would be nice. Do you think it's okay to get started?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
He's just working with the investigator.
Completely fine. Let's get the jury, please. All rise. You may be seated. All right. Everybody, we are ready to continue. I think Ms. Shahada wants to put something in evidence before we resume the direct testimony of the witness.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. At this point, the government would like to move to admit Government's Exhibit 945A and 945B pursuant as certified business records of NRG Recording Studios, and the business records certification has been marked for Government's Exhibit 945C. In addition, would move to admit Government's Exhibit 946A, B, C, and D also as certified business records for NRG Recording Studio. The business records certification for that is Government's Exhibit 946E.
Have you had a chance to look at them, counsel?
I don't think so.
They were provided.
Well, let's. It's okay.
You know what? No objection. No objection.
Okay, those are in evidence. Government's 945 for BCC, wherever it's. Okay, listen.
All right. Now, before our break, you were testifying about certain events that occurred the morning after you attended the defendant's show at the theater at Westbury, correct? Oh, where's my faith? Somebody help me out.
Witness, is she still on break?
She must be.
Correct.
Okay. And you were testifying about events that occurred in your hotel room, correct?
Correct.
Now, I think you testified before the break that after the defendant entered your room, he stripped from the waist down and had his penis exposed. Is that right?
Correct.
And you testified he asked you to rub on daddy.
Correct.
And you went and you was that when he was exposed from the waist down already.
Correct.
And after that, you went and gave him a massage on his shoulders.
Correct.
And I think you testified it was at that point that he then took your hand, grabbed your hand, and moved it towards his penis.
Yes.
And what did he do with your hand at that point?
He moved my hand to his penis and instructed me, no, rub here.
Now you testified before the break that at some point you told him you weren't ready for sex. Is that right?
Correct.
And at what point was that you said that?
Once my hand hit his penis,
And how did he react?
he said that he said that he said that he was at his best when he was wanted.
And again, before the break, you testified. What did you understand? What at that time did you understand that to mean?
I understand that we had a mutual agreement on I wasn't ready for sex. He was at his best when he was wanted.
Now, while you were in the room that day, you testified before the break that the defendant made a comment about what you were wearing. Is that right?
What's so funny? Yes.
And did the topic of your clothes come up again?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury about that?
When he first came in, he made a comment about what I had on those granny pajamas. And when he sat down in the chair after stripping, he instructed me again, take off your clothes. I paused for a moment and then after that, I stripped my shirt and shorts. and I had on my bra and underwear.
Now, after withdrawn, when the defendant put your hand on his penis, where in the room were you?
We were by a chair in a corner of the room.
And at some point, did the defendant direct you to move anywhere else?
Oh, thank you.
He told me to get on the bed.
And what happened then?
He instructed me to get on the bed on my back, like all fours. And he just started rubbing on me. I had my bra and underwear on. So he was like rubbing on me, not caressing, but it was more like a texture type of rub feel. He worked his way down from my back all the way down to my vaginal, and he began to stick his finger in me. He wasn't like, excuse me, he wasn't fingering me. It was like a poke, like poking my vagina. And he rubs where he would he would do this like a texture rub on my buttocks and my vagina. And he like literally like spread me open, felt in between, and like it was like a pat after. Like it was done.
And while you were just testifying, you made a movement with your hand. I think you put one hand over the other and made a movement back and forth. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that what it felt like the defendant was doing to you?
Yes.
And while he was doing those things, what did it feel like to you he was doing?
It felt like I was being like examined by an OBGYN. He was like saying things while like poking me, said I was tight. Things like that.
Girl, please. What was going on through your head? What was going through your head at that point at that time?
I was just kind of like, ugh, I don't know how to react to this. I don't want to upset him and like get upset or make him upset. I really just it was one of those things. I was just like, okay, just get through it.
What do you recall happened next?
Shortly after that, I was like on all fours and he started giving me oral sex from behind. And there and there was like a pause, a brief pause. He told me to flip over, and I thought he he I don't really know what was going on in my head when he told me to flip over. So I flipped over. And when I flipped over, I noticed there was an iPad. And where we're at, imagine this is the bed. So there is like a little desk like right here and a lamp and an iPad and it's recording. I couldn't see myself and I see he's giving me oral sex. It's just it goes on. I see the camera. I don't say anything about the camera. After he finished performing oral sex on me, his pants are already off. So he starts getting ready to penetrate me. And I said, are you going to use a condom? And he said, we don't need a condom.
What do you recall happened next?
He penetrated me. It wasn't, it didn't go on for very long. It wasn't a long time. The whole time he was telling me what to say, how to moan. He was saying, don't look away from the camera to look sexy. It was very like, there was a few times like he would pause because I wasn't getting aroused. And it was kind of like difficulties with him getting inside me. So it didn't happen very long. After he finished, he kind of like, he kind of let out a sigh, like disappointment. Right away, he told me, like there was a lot I had to learn when it came to sex, that I needed to learn how to moan, how to arch my back, how to how to please him, how to position better, be more sexy during sex. I kind of was just like, okay. I took it as, I guess, constructive criticism. I was just, I really didn't care how he thought I looked because I just didn't really know what to do. Like, that was my first time. Hmm? After, after that, it was a brief pause. He looked at me. He said, you know, if you're really like 16, you could tell daddy. And I said, I kind of like paused, kind of laughed. I was like, I'm not 16. I was like, I'm 19. I was like, you want to see my driver's license? He said no. He believed me. And then after that, he put on his clothes, got his backpack, and left.
After he left, how did you feel?
I was embarrassed because I felt like maybe I really like, I felt like I was bad at sex. Was I that bad at sex? You know, I only had one boyfriend, so I didn't have a whole bunch of partners or really knew what I was doing. Wait a minute, but you just say you was a virgin.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Hold
Wait a
on.
But
minute.
I thought
Hold
you said it was the
on
first
a
time.
minute. Wait, Your Honor. Your Honor. May we approach briefly, please?
Sure.
All this is redacted.
Yep.
We can't see it. We can't see the sidebar. It's sealed. Okay. Page 2178.
Yep. Court.
Okay. Next question.
Now, at any point before the defendant penetrated you that day in the hotel room, had the defendant told you that he had herpes?
No, he didn't.
Had he told you he had any other sexually transmitted diseases?
No, he didn't.
Did he use a condom that day?
No, he didn't.
Now, I think you testified that at some point during the inter- interaction in the hotel room, you noticed an iPad. Is that right?
Correct.
And you noticed it recording?
Correct.
And you also testified that during your interaction, the defendant was saying things to you about how to moan.
Correct.
Is that a federal offense?
Correct.
And what I s- and what to say? Do you recall anything about what he told you to say?
I like it, daddy. Things like that.
You better be careful how you say that, daddy. Now, after the defendant left the room that day, what did you do?
After he left, I took a shower and got back into bed. I had called on my best friend at the time, told her how the interaction went because I really was just wondering if it was off. Was it me? So I got her opinion on it.
And what else did you do that day?
After that, nothing else.
What did your friend tell you?
Mhm.
At some point, did you contact anyone you knew in New York about meeting up?
Yes.
And who did you contact?
My former high school best friend.
And
She
what?
was
Oh,
she was there for a track meet.
I'm sorry. And what, if anything, did you agree to do with your friend in New York?
We had agreed that since we both was in New York, we would meet up for lunch.
And after you, by the way, was that a female friend?
Yes.
And after you made plans with her, what, if anything, did you do?
I had let Diana know what I was planning on doing
And why did you do that?
because he had told me to inform her of anything I was going to do or needed.
When you say he, are you referring to the defendant?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm about to show you what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 208B. Do you recognize Government's Exhibit 208B?
Yes.
And prior to your testimony here today, have you had an opportunity to look through Government's Exhibit 208B?
Yes, I have.
And is it an 80-page document?
It is.
And does this consist of screenshots of text messages between you and Diana Copeland from May 18th of 2017 through February 4th of 2018?
Yes.
May I move to omit government's exhibit 208B.
Any objections?
No, I.
Okay, that's in evidence.
Now I'm showing you page 7 of government's exhibit 208B. Actually, before I do that, you said you contacted Diana to let you know her plans, right?
Yes.
How did you go about doing that?
I text her.
I'm showing you page 7 of government's exhibit 208B. Again, are the texts in green from you to Diana?
Yes, they are.
And is there a series of texts from May 19th, 2017?
Yes.
And at the bottom, can you read what that text says?
Just keeping you updated. I'm going to go get food in a little bit. Won't be far.
And was that you informed Diana about your plans to plan with your friend?
Yes.
And did Diana respond to you?
She told me to let Mr. Kelly know.
And is that here on the top of page 8 of government's exhibit 208B?
Yes.
Did you contact the defendant?
Yes.
And what happened when you contacted the defendant?
Well, I had sent a text message the same way I text Diana, and he had called me. And I had told him, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to go meet one of my friends for dinner. I'll be back. He kind of just laughed at me. He was like, what? And I was like, I'm going to go with one of my friends. And he was like, no, you're not. And he was like, he doesn't like for anybody to move without him. He told me it was dangerous for me to be by myself in New York. He told me that I could just order room service, that there was room service to just order it from room service. And he told me that when the room service arrives, that don't let them see me. For one, don't let them come in the room and give you the food. They will leave it outside the door and I'll get it. He said if it's a woman, just have her set the food down, sign the bill, and go on. He said, but if it was a man, I don't let him see me at all. That I asked him to leave the bill at the door.
And after speaking with the defendant, did you end up going to meet your friend for dinner?
No,
Why not?
because he told me it wasn't safe to do that. So I didn't.
What, if anything, did you end up doing instead?
Ordering room service.
And did you stay in the hotel room all day?
Yes.
Did you go to any other parts of the hotel?
No.
Why not?
I just stayed in the room so I wouldn't have to ask or wait for him to come. I just stayed.
What, if anything, did you understand you needed to do if you were going to go to another part of the hotel?
Check in and make sure that it was okay with him first.
Did you end up seeing the defendant again on that trip?
No,
When, if at all, did you fly home to San Antonio?
on May 20th.
After that trip to New York, what, if any, communications did you have with the defendant?
After the trip to New York, we still had the same communication, phone calls and texts and FaceTiming. Mainly after I saw him in person, it went more from texting to phone calls.
How, if at all, did the substance of your conversation change after your first New York trip?
When I got home, we had a conversation and he was telling me that there was just a lot I had to learn about being with him. and that as I get to know him more, it will be better. I'll understand. He just told me anything he tells me is constructive criticism to make me better, to make me more of a woman. And I understood. I said I understood.
These were all things that he said to you.
Yes.
What, if anything, did the defendant say to you about seeing you again?
He said he wanted to see me again. He told me again, just let him know when he was ready. Double check with him on the days, things like that.
Did you, in fact, see him again?
I did.
Where did you see him again?
I saw him in Chicago in June of 2017
Where did you travel? Where did you travel to Chicago from?
from San Antonio, Texas.
Who booked your flight?
Diana,
Who paid for
R.
them?
Kelly,
How about how long did you stay in Chicago?
about 2 days.
Whose idea was it? Yours or Mr. Kelly's? Where did you
Well,
in Chicago?
I stayed at a hotel,
Who paid for the hotel?
R. Kelly.
After you arrived in Chicago, do you recall how you got to the hotel?
Uber picked me up from the airport and took me to the hotel.
Who arranged for that Uber?
Diana Copeland.
Did you see the defendant the day you arrived in Chicago?
I did not.
When, if at all, did you see him?
The following day,
Where did you see him?
I saw him at his Chicago studio.
I'm showing you what is in evidence as Government's Exhibit 503A. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize this to be?
The studio.
Is that the studio that you saw the defendant at in Chicago in June 2017?
Correct.
Do you recall how you got to the studio that day?
Diana called me an Uber to the studio.
What happened after you arrived at the studio?
Once I arrived at the studio, I let Diana know I was there. She said she would let Mr. Kelly know and somebody would be with me shortly to open the door.
At some point, did somebody open the door?
Yes,
Who was that?
R. Kelly.
What happened after that?
He opened the door. He said, "Hey." He had a smile on his face. He was friendly, warm. He walked inside. I looked around for a little bit, not long. He was directing me where to go. And I said something like, "You still have your Christmas tree up in the wait a minute. You still have your Christmas tree up?" In a normal tone. He was like, "Shh." And wasn't even yelling. We sat by the bar and he looked at me. At the time, I had a black eye. I told him about it. He looked at me. He said, "Titties still there? Your ass still there? Okay, stand up." I stood up again. He turned me around. He was like, "Your eye don't look that bad." That was the end of that conversation about my eye. We sat not even for a full 5 minutes. Again, I said something. He said, "Shh," again. He was looking back, making sure nobody was coming. He looked back, he looked forward, pulled his penis out of his pants. We were this close to each other. He said, "Suck on daddy." And he pulled my neck down to start giving him oral sex.
About how long had you been in the building at that point?
About 10 minutes.
Before that happened, what, if anything, did the defendant say to you about your clothes?
Again, when I walked in, he had told me to take off my pants. I told him that I was on my period. Right away, he told me, "Don't say you on your period. Say your friend came. Say it." So I said, "My friend came." He said, "Okay." That's when he looked back for a couple seconds. Conversation wasn't long, and he pulled out his penis.
After he pulled
Okay.
his penis, Where did he put his penis?
In my mouth.
About how long did that go on for?
It was probably like 30 minutes long. It was a long time.
Damn, girl. After the
Almost
defendant
had
fin-
lockjaw.
Right? I was just thinking that. At some point, did he say anything to you?
He told me that his words were, if he wants to go, I guess supposed to be, if he wants to go to a movie and the movies is 2 hours long, he said it might be me and you. The movie might be 2 hours long, but you're going to be sucking my dick the whole time. I was like, oh, okay, after that. Oh, I'm sorry. He looked at me. He said he wanted to take some pictures off me. He told me to text Diana and tell her to get me an Uber to take me to the water tower to get some lingerie from Victoria's Secret. He dug in his pocket and pulled out $200 and told me to buy some lingerie. And Diana would arrange everything.
You mentioned the water tower. What is the water tower?
A shopping center in Chicago.
What was going through your head after that interaction?
I really was just again confused. We didn't really get to talk much that time. It was really rushed. So I felt like he had something to do. So after I went to the mall, bought some lingerie, and he never saw me again on that trip.
At any point on that trip, did the defendant tell you he had herpes
No,
or any other sexually transmitted disease?
no.
Where, if anywhere, did you go after you left Chicago?
Back to San Antonio, Texas.
How, if at all, did the defendant and you keep in contact after the Chicago trip?
Texting, calling, FaceTiming, consistent conversations, the same as before. Nothing changed.
As at some point after the Chicago trip, without saying what you read, did you come across a negative article about the defendant?
Correct.
Around when was that?
Around July of 2017.
At some point, did you have a conversation with the defendant about those matters that you had seen?
Correct. We had a conversation. It wasn't direct, it was through text. And I had noticed that he had would normally call me in the morning or whatever, and his calls and texts had slowed down. So I texted him. I said, "I hope you're okay." I don't really accuse him of anything. I didn't ask. I said, "I hope you're okay. I know it's a lot that is going on." He texted me back and said, "Thank you," and to pray for him. And that right now, a lot of people were against him. And he was like, he wouldn't have to cheat anybody.
Did you see the defendant after that?
Yes.
Where did you see him again?
After that trip, I saw him again in Dallas,
Around when was that?
December 2017.
About 6 months after you saw him in Chicago?
Correct.
How did you travel to Dallas?
Diana arranged for my plane ticket to be booked.
Where did you fly to Dallas from?
San Antonio.
Did Diana book your flights?
She did.
Who paid for the flights?
R. Kelly.
How long did you stay in Dallas?
I stayed in Dallas for about 3 day trip
Where did you stay in Dallas?
at the Statler.
Is that a hotel?
Yes,
Who made the hotel arrangements for you?
Diana Copeland did.
Who paid for the hotel?
R. Kelly.
What, if anything, was the defendant in Dallas for at that time?
He had a concert.
Where, if anywhere, did you see the defendant after you arrived in Dallas?
I first saw him at a cigar bar.
How was it that you ended up at the cigar bar?
Diana had arranged for a car to pick me up from the hotel and meet him at the cigar bar.
When you say him, you're referring to the defendant?
Correct.
What happened when you got to the cigar bar?
When I arrived at the cigar bar, he was already there. His entourage, his sprinter was there. It's like a shopping center, but there were benches and things in the front. It was like a little bit of people, not a whole bunch, but they were all fans. When I pulled up, he took his last couple of pictures. When he saw that I was there, he asked everybody to put their phones up. After that, we walked inside the cigar bar.
When you say we, who walked inside the cigar bar?
Me, Diana, R. Kelly, and his entourage.
What happened when you got inside?
Once we got inside, right away, Diana told me where to sit. She was sitting across from me. There was nobody there for me to interact with. There was a gentleman I did not know to my left, 2 seats away. He was talking to the owners, just being friendly. They offered me a bottle of champagne. He got me a bottle of champagne.
Who offered you a bottle of champagne?
R. Kelly.
You said someone was talking to the owners. Who are you referring to?
R. Kelly.
What happened after you were offered champagne?
After I got the champagne, I was sitting there, probably had like 2 glasses of champagne for the amount of time I was there. There was a moment where I had my legs crossed to the left, and there was a man on my left side, and he had came behind me, and he whispered in my ear. He said, "Sit up and straighten my legs and turn them the other way."
Who said that?
R. Kelly, he told me that my legs should never be pointed to another man when I'm in public with him.
Where, if anywhere, did you go after the cigar bar?
After the cigar bar, there was an older gentleman there that he said was his uncle. And he told me to get in the car with him, and Diana would ride with me to the venue, that we would follow the sprinter. And we did.
Did you see what, if any, car the defendant got into?
His sprinter.
What happened after you got to the concert venue?
When we arrived to the concert venue, we walked. We arrived in the back. We walked to his dressing room. Diana was there with me as well. She showed me his side of the dressing room. There was some Hennessy and cranberry juice. He told her to make me a drink. She did. I had maybe a cup or two before the show started. There was a moment where it was just me and Diana. He came in and told her she could leave, and it was just me and him. We engaged in sex before the show.
At that point, how much had you had to drink that day?
I had a little bit of champagne before. I was drinking Hennessy and cranberry, probably a cup and a half. I wasn't belligerently drunk, but I was feeling it.
What, if anything, happened after the defendant had sex with you that day?
After after we had sex, Diana knocked before she entered, and she let him know he had 10 minutes. So again, he got dressed and he went on stage. Diana, she walked me to where I was going to be sitting. Again, my seat was close to the stage to where he could see me. I could see him.
And did you stay for the whole concert?
Yes.
How, if at all, did the defendant interact with you during the concert?
Again, just like the times before, coming like right where I was. This time he was a little bit more direct. It caught my attention of the people behind me. He was just entertaining, I guess, me from where I was at.
What happened after the concert?
After the concert, we went backstage. Diana had came and got me from my seat again, escorted me backstage. The backstage room, it was pretty big. There was like a curtain that split the rooms in the middle. I could hear other people on the other side, but I couldn't see them. I heard there was like a younger woman and her mom, and they were playing her music. I could hear them laughing, things like that. They ended up coming on the side that I was on to change a song. I could hear him too on the side as well, but I wasn't entertaining them. They weren't entertaining me. It was just me and Diana. There was a moment where he had peeked in again. He was like, Diana, make her a drink. She got up right away and made me another drink.
Did Diana?
That's really what the scene was like backstage.
Sorry about that. I missed that whole line. Did Diana make you more than one drink?
Yes.
Had you had anything to eat at that point?
No.
Where did you go? Where, if anywhere, did you go after this time backstage?
I didn't go anywhere backstage. I just stayed back there.
My question was unclear. Did you leave that area that you were in and at some point?
Yes.
Where, if anywhere, did you go?
Back to the hotel.
How did you get there?
Uber.
When you got back to the hotel, what kind of state were you in?
When I got back to the hotel, I was drunk by then.
Did you hear from the defendant after you got back to the hotel?
I probably had like maybe 2 hours of sleep and he was knocking on the door.
And what happened then?
He came in again. We had sex. I don't remember this time if it was recorded or not. And that was it. He had left some jewelry there. So the next day, I had let him know he had left his jewelry.
Did you see the defendant again on that trip?
Yes.
When did you see him?
When he had came to get his jewelry.
Did he come back to your hotel room?
Yes.
When he got back to your hotel room, what, if anything, did you recall the defendant saying to you?
Our conversation in the hotel room, that was really one of the more serious conversations we ever really had. I had never seen him cry until that conversation or really get deep into his personal self, his personal life. When he walked in, he didn't seem super happy, but he didn't seem upset. I thought he was just coming to get his jewelry. He went on, he went on a ramble. He said people always talk about the bad I've done, but they never talk about the good. He stated that nobody ever talks about the money he donates to charity. They don't talk about the events that he had to give back or how he likes to feed the homeless, things like that. He got really emotional. He had expressed to me some things that happened to him when he was a child.
What, if anything, did the defendant say during that conversation about protecting him?
He asked me if I would protect him.
And what happened after that?
After he asked me if I would protect him, I said yes. That came with a brief pause. After that, he told me that attorney was going to be coming up and she had some papers for me to sign. He was like, just some papers, to state our business is our business and that you'll protect me. And again, he asked me again, he said, will you protect me? I said yes. After that, after that, he goes on. He finishes telling me things. He gets deeper. He says, because he hadn't seen each other in a couple of months since the last trip, he says there's been a lot said about me, a lot going on. He revealed to me, he said, there is some females that I'm raising. I have a group of women that I raised. He said some women have been with me for 5 years, some have been with me for a year, some women have been with me for 15 years. He stated that these women were his family, that they protect him, that they love each other. He really presented it like a family dynamic, not so much like a relationship, but more like they were a family. He stated that's that the reason why he liked me was that I reminded him of the girls. And I asked him, I said, do do you all sleep together? He said yes. I had told him I'm not into girls at all. He said, well, if I want both of you, wait a minute, he said, if I want both of you to suck my dick, ultimately it's about pleasing me. So you're going to suck my dick with her. Again, it was just one of those things I tried to chuckle off. I didn't think like, okay, I guess so. He must be serious. He paused again. He kind of had this look on his face like he was uncomfortable after he told me everything. He said, you were at the concert, right? I said, yes. He said, you're right there. He said, and they, the girls, referring to the girls, he said, they were on the side of me. You didn't even know. He said, wherever I go, they go. He explained, he had explained to me that it's a group of them. They are involved. He said they love each other, but he was like, as far as talking about ex boyfriends or anything really too personal, he said that they didn't discuss that with one another. He said he trusted them and they trusted him back.
You testified that the defendant said something to you about a lawyer coming up to the room and you signing something.
Correct.
Now, did a lawyer end up coming to the room?
No, the attorney never came.
Did the defendant talk to you about anything that he wanted you to write?
After maybe about 30 minutes of us sitting there, no attorney came. Again, when he's in deep thought, he'll pause. And he said that again, he needed me to protect him. And he said that there was going to be basically, he needed me to write down something about my family that I didn't want anyone to know. And I said, well, there is nothing I could think of that I don't want anybody to know. Nothing about your dad or your mom. No. He's like, I can help you with that.
What did you understand about him?
Sorry.
Hmm. That he would help me come up with a lie to form on my family or my parents if I couldn't think of one on my own. Shortly after that, he asked me to pull out my phone, and I pulled out my phone. And he said this time he gave me another number to group text with. He had me group text these numbers. He said, I want you to text this. He told me exactly what to text, down to what emoji to use. He said, text this for me. Daddy, I want to be with you and the girls. He was like, but put praying hands emojis, like this indicating, like please. He asked me if I understood what to type. I said yes. He said, did you send it? I said yes. He said good. After that, he told me to get dressed. We were going to go out, and I did.
The letter that he asked you to write with things about your family, did you end up doing that?
No.
Was it after that he asked you to send the text you just described?
Correct.
You testified that the text you sent was a group text. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you have any understanding about who the text was being sent to?
I was sending the group text to all of his numbers. He had different phones. I was sending that text to multiple phones.
Belonging to the defendant.
Correct.
What, if anything, did the defendant say to you in that hotel room in Dallas about rules?
He had let me know that they had rules and that pretty much they are understood, they are followed. He has a way to be greeted, down to rules as to when he walks in the room. Everybody greets each other. They all kiss him, things like that.
When you say they, who are you referring to?
The girls,
The defendant's girls?
correct.
What, if any, impression did you have about why the defendant was telling you all these things?
The impression that I had was, I guess, he felt like we were at.
Objection.
I'll sustain that as to form.
What was going through your head after the defendant told you these things?
I guess that he trusted me.
Same objection, Your Honor.
It's her own thoughts.
Thank you for telling me that. The objection is sustained.
After he told you to get dressed, did he say anything what to get dressed for?
He said we were going out. He asked me what there was to do in Dallas since I was from Texas. And I told him there were hookah bars open on Sundays late.
After you got dressed, where, if anywhere, did you go?
We went downstairs to his room. He sent me downstairs to his room after we got dressed.
The defendant took you downstairs?
Correct.
Did you know where you was going when you were leaving your hotel room?
I was under the impression that we were leaving,
Like going where?
heading to the hookah bar.
What happened when you got to the defendant's hotel room?
When I got to R. Kelly's hotel room, he was knocking on the door. He didn't just go in. He opened the door, and there was another woman in the room.
How, if at all, did the other woman greet the defendant after the door opened?
She said, "Hey, Daddy." She had a big smile on her face, and she kissed him.
What happened next?
He turned to kiss me.
And what, if anything, did the defendant say?
I was like, "You're going to kiss me after you just kissed her?" He was like, "Yes." He reminded me again that's how they greeted.
Did the defendant say anything about who this woman was?
He introduced her to me as Joy.
I'm showing you what is in evidence as compared to Exhibit 78. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes,
Who is in this photo?
Joy.
Was that the woman in the room that day?
Yes.
What, if any, discussion did the defendant have with you and Joy withdrawn? First of all, what kind of hotel room was it that you went to that day that Joy was in?
We were in his hotel suite.
And what, if any, discussion did the defendant have with you and Joy in the hotel suite?
He quickly introduced us. He said, "Joy, Faith, Faith, Joy." He said, "You all get to know each other just like that."
When he said, all you all get to know each other, did he have any other instructions about that?
That he just reminded me again, they don't discuss their boyfriends, things like that. Things that he said, quote unquote, were disrespectful to him.
So what, if anything, did you discuss with Joy?
When me and Joy had a conversation, our conversation was not really a two-way conversation. She kind of just looked me from up and down. She said literally everything I had on. She said she liked. "I like your hair. I like your shoes. I like your jeans. I like your shirt." Literally from top to bottom, complimenting me.
Did you see how Joy was dressed that day?
Yes, she had told me to wear heels, and I looked at her, and she had on heels as well, but her hair wasn't done. Her clothes weren't very fashionable. Her toenails were chipped. Her nails were broken. She just looked very unkept.
Now, you testified that she complimented you on what you were wearing. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, did that mean in the hotel? Did that happen in the hotel suite or somewhere else?
This happened outside the hotel suite.
So, after you went to the hotel suite with the defendant and met Joy, was that the first time you had met Joy?
Yes.
Where, if anywhere, did the three of you go after that?
After he quickly introduced us, we went down to the elevator. He said in a moment he was going to go get the car. So we were just waiting. It was just us two. And that's where she had complimented me.
Now, at some point, did the defendant come back?
Yes.
And what did he come back with?
He came back with the sprinter.
And what happened then?
He said, "Let's go." We got we got up to leave. He had before we got in the sprinter, he lit his cigar and Joy was lighting it for him.
Who got into the sprinter?
Me, R. Kelly, and Joy.
And what part of the sprinter did the three of you get into?
The riding side of the sprinter.
What, if anything, well, can you describe what you saw in the sprinter when you went inside?
When I opened the door to the sprinter, there is two seats back like this, and there's two seats that will sit in front of you. So you'll be sitting across from each other. I noticed there was like a Victoria's Secret bag. I saw like multiple bra and panties, like toothbrush, hairbrushes, like maintenance stuff.
And and when you were in the back of the sprinter, could you see who was in the front?
No.
Why was it that you couldn't see who was in the front?
In the sprinter, so in the sprinter, say I'm sitting where behind normally in like a truck or SUV, there's like a little window where you can see who's driving, where you could open it and say something. It was almost like it wasn't cardboard, it wasn't brick. It was just like a, don't know what to call it, but it was something that was screwed over that piece to where it wasn't showing. So I couldn't see who was driving or the passenger seat or in the passenger seat, and they could not see me either.
And when you say the passenger seat, you mean the front passenger seat next to the driver?
Correct.
Now, when you entered the sprinter, did you notice if there was anyone in the front passenger seat before getting inside?
Yes, Diana got in the sprinter with us as well.
And where did she get in?
In the front driver's passenger seat.
And where, if anywhere, did all you go in the sprinter?
We had went to the hookah bar that I told him about.
And by the way, was there also a driver in the sprinter?
Correct.
Now, what if anything happened on the drive to the hookah bar?
On the drive to the hookah bar, he had asked me who did I listen to for Christmas. And I said Johnny Gill's Christmas album. And he said, he laughed at me. He said, Joy, turn on my Christmas album. So she turned on his Christmas album. He pulls out a bottle of Ciroc and he drinks. He passes it to Joy. She drinks. He says, pass it to her. And I kind of like hesitated. I was like, I don't think I want to drink it. He was like, drink. He was like, drink. So I drank it. And we did that for a good 10 minutes. We were just passing the bottle around. The bottle was full. And by the time we were done, it was damn near empty.
And at some point, did the sprinter arrive at the hookah bar?
It did.
And what happened when the sprinter arrived?
When we arrived to the hookah bar, he got up. He said, y'all stay here. He said, I'm going to scope the scene. I'm going to scope the scene to make sure there ain't too many niggas in here. Those were his words. So he got up. Diana came to open the door, let him out, and they both went inside of the hookah bar.
When you say they both went, do you mean Diana and the defendant?
Correct. She followed him.
And where did you say you and Joy stay? And where did you enjoy stay?
in the Sprinter.
How long did you enjoy stay in the Sprinter?
We were in the Sprinter for some hours. It wasn't just a minimum wait, 45. We were in there for some hours.
And what time of year was this again?
This was in December.
Should we stop here? And at some
Uh,
point, huh?
I don't know. We can keep going. It don't matter.
And at some point while you were in the Sprinter, did you feel uncomfortable?
I felt uncomfortable. I started just getting hot. The heat was on, and I was already holding my pee for a long time. Yeah.
And what that and when that happened, what did you do?
I had let Diana know that I had to use the bathroom, and she said, "Okay, stand by." And it took her a minute to get there. I called his phone.
When you say a minute, what do you mean?
Excuse me, not a minute. It took a long time.
Are you saying a minute as in a slang term?
Yes, excuse me. A minute is slang. When I say a minute, I really mean a long time.
Now, did you at some point try to open the door to the Sprinter?
Yes, there was a moment where, um, cause I was kind of like nodding off, and then I would nod off to be like, I'm still here. I looked at Joy and I tugged on it, and she was like,
Tug on what?
the door. And she said, you have to ask. But even when I tugged on the door, it didn't move. And she was like, the door is broken and you have to ask. So I was like, okay.
So when you tried to open the door, it did not open?
It did not open.
And what did you do after you tried to open the door? It didn't open, and Joy told you you had to ask.
That's when I began to contact them, contact Diana first and then R. Kelly. And it wasn't until I text Diana and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm about to pass out. Is is when somebody came out and drove me to the bathroom.
Now you
Mm,
testified that someone finally came to the Sprinter. Is that right?
correct.
Who came?
Diana came and he came.
And what happened then?
After they arrived, they drove me and Joy and R. Kelly to IHOP to use the bathroom.
And what happened once you arrived at the IHOP?
Again, Diana came and opened the door. She asked who all had to use the bathroom. Me and Joy both went. She followed us to the bathroom. She opened the door for us when we got to the bathroom. When we used the bathroom, when I was using the bathroom, excuse me, Joy, she washed her hands. She didn't use the bathroom, but when I used the bathroom, Diana was standing outside the stall. She opened it for me. When I was washing my hands, she was waiting. She opened the door to let me out. And again, we went back into the Sprinter.
And did Diana use the bathroom at all?
She did not.
What happened after you got back to the Sprinter?
Once we got back to the Sprinter, he asked if he could talk to me. And so I stepped outside the Sprinter and we had a conversation. And he asked me why I wasn't feeling good. Again, I reminded him at the time that I was epileptic. Lord, I'm sorry. And drinking at the time was my trigger. I had been involved in an accident prior to, and I never had to deal with seizures. But now I did. And I knew that drinking was a trigger. So I was reminding him, just of everything we had already talked about before I got there.
So let's back up a moment. So you mentioned you're epileptic. Is that right?
Correct.
And around when did you develop epilepsy?
Around 2015.
And what happened that resulted in you developing epilepsy?
My high school boyfriend at the time, after graduation, he had got a girl pregnant and we ended up getting into it. She stabbed me in my lung, in my shoulder, in my back.
And were you hospitalized for a period of weeks?
Yes.
Sounds like you probably was messing with someone else's man. And after that, did you develop epilepsy?
Yeah, from the head trauma.
Now you testified that you had discussed this with the defendant before. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you recall when the time, approximately when and the time you known him, you had first discussed this with him?
We discussed it before I even flew to meet him. We were having those basic conversations about who he was, about who I was, and he had asked me if I had any boyfriend. I had let him know I only had one boyfriend and it really didn't go that well. Things like that.
And that's when you told him about the stabbing
Correct.
and the epilepsy?
Correct.
All right, now going back to after the IHOP, when you went to the bathroom at the IHOP in Dallas and the defendant was speaking to you, I think you just testified. You mentioned, you brought up the fact that you get seizures to him then again as well.
Yes, correct. He had asked me what a seizure was again. He said, "What's a seizure again?" So I explained to him what a seizure was. And he said, "Oh, well, I can't have you on the road with me when you sick. So I need you to get better." And I was just like, it's not really anything to get better from. It's just seizures might happen if I'm sitting overheated drunk.
Now, after you used the bathroom at IHOP, where, if anywhere, did you go?
After we came from IHOP, we returned back to the hotel.
And who went back to the hotel?
All of us, me, Diana, R. Kelly, and Joy.
And once you got back to the hotel, where in the hotel did you go?
I went back to my hotel room. When I got out of the sprinter, he instructed Diana. He said, "Diana, make sure you go in and watch her. Make sure she's all right." And she did. She followed me up to my room. I had showered, laid down. It was probably about an hour she stayed. She was just sitting. She wasn't talking. After an hour, she got up. She told me she was going back to her hotel room, and I said, "Okay."
Did you see the defendant again on that trip?
I did.
And do you recall when you saw the defendant again on that trip?
On my way out and on his way out as well.
And when you say on your way out, what do you mean?
I was leaving Dallas, and so was he.
And you did see him at the hotel?
Correct, in front of the hotel we met.
And what, if any, conversation did you have with him at that time?
He had let me know that now things were getting more serious. He said that I probably, the next time, would stay for 2 weeks. He wanted me to come with him, come to him and stay at his house for 2 weeks. He had made a commitment. He said I was gaining weight. So he was like, for 2 weeks, I want you to come get right. He said he was going to get me a personal trainer. He also stated that he didn't like that when he was when he had sex with me, he can't get in me. He said that I needed to get a dildo that was the size of his penis and I needed to start using it so that he doesn't have any problems when we're having sex.
And
Mm.
what type of problems did you understand him to be referring to when you were having sex?
Not being able to penetrate me fully.
Did you leave Dallas after that?
Yes.
And where did you go?
Back to San Antonio.
And did you continue to communicate with the defendant after you got back to San Antonio?
Yes.
How, if at all, did the communication with the defendant change after your trip to Dallas?
After my trip to Dallas, actually, our communication had changed to where the conversations weren't so much like sweet. It was more like a you would think we guess we were in a relationship to where he told me, I want to know where you go, who you going with, the address. If you're going out, ask me if you can go out. He said, if there's anything, I'm sorry. He said, if there's going to be niggers there, he said, I need to know who. So he wanted to know my home address and literally everywhere I went. And he said, when he calls my phone, I need to answer it. If I don't pick up, that's an issue.
Did you notice they put the ERS on there instead of
Mm-hmm.
IGGA?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that's how it would have been said.
Mm-hmm.
And did you follow his instructions?
I did.
I'm going to show the witness only what's been marked for identification as Government's Exhibit 207E through H. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can you take a look at these documents and let me know if you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And what do you, generally speaking, what do you recognize these documents to be?
Are we out of battery again?
There you go. It's just low.
Is it low?
Yes.
Do you want to change the battery? Thanks, Donna.
Can you,
Good. Can you repeat the question?
sure. Generally speaking, what do you recognize the documents I just showed you to be?
Text messages between me and R. Kelly.
And are these screenshots of certain text messages from your phone?
Correct.
I move to admit Government's Exhibit 207E through H.
Any objections?
Nope.
Those are in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm going to show you what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 207E.
Now, at the top, does it indicate how many people you're sending this text message to?
3.
What does that refer to there?
3 different phones.
For who?
R. Kelly.
So it was a group text, but all to R. Kelly's phones.
Correct.
Now, are the texts, who are the texts in gray from?
Him.
The defendant?
Correct.
And the responses in blue on the right side, are those from you?
Correct.
And at the top, is there a text from the defendant saying, where are you?
Correct.
And your response, Olive Garden, do you want me to call and then send him sent him a photo? Is that right?
Correct.
Why did you do that?
Because those were part of his rules. He wanted to know where I was at, what I was doing, so I just sent a picture. Oh.
I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government's Exhibit 207F. Again, are these texts between you and the defendant?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Correct.
No, I was.
Oh.
And can you describe what you sent to the defendant that's shown on Government's Exhibit 207F?
I'm showing him my outfit as I headed out to attend the funeral service.
And what did you write to him?
Daddy, I'm heading to the service. Just wanted to send you pictures of what I'm wearing. Love you. He said, good girl, and sent sent a selfie back.
Why did you send him these texts?
Those were a part of his rules.
I'm showing you Government's Exhibit 207G. Again, are these texts between you and the defendant?
Correct.
And can you go through the texts here?
I was out shopping and he had called me. So I sent a picture to let him know I was still shopping. And then he replied, "Hey, baby, I love you."
I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government's Exhibit 207H. Again, are these texts between you and the defendant?
Correct.
And this photograph of someone's hand with nails, did you send that?
Correct.
And whose hand is that?
My hand.
Now, are the texts in blue from you?
They are.
And what did you write the defendant that day?
I asked him if it was okay if I went out with my older sister, the one he had met.
And was that the one he had met back in at the Tobin Center?
Correct.
And why did you send him that text?
Making sure it was okay for me to go out, following what he had asked me to.
And at some point, did you travel to see the defendant again?
Yes.
Where did you go?
After my last trip to Dallas, my next trip was to Los Angeles.
And where did you travel from to Los Angeles?
I traveled from San Antonio.
Around when was this trip?
This trip was around January of 2018.
And who booked the flights for that trip to Los Angeles?
Diana.
And who paid for the flights?
R. Kelly.
About how long did you stay in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles was about a 2-day stay, a weekend trip again.
And do you recall where you stayed?
At Holiday Inn.
And who paid for your hotel?
R. Kelly.
What happened when you got to LA?
When I arrived at LA, Diana called an Uber to pick me up and take me to the hotel.
And what happened after you got to the hotel?
Once I got to the hotel, I was told instructions on who to talk to or tell them, what name the room was under from Diana, and I went to my room.
And do you recall whether the room was under your name there?
I don't.
I'm showing you what's in evidence, page 59 of Government's Exhibit 208B. Again, are these texts between you and Diana?
Yes.
And I'm actually going to show you the page before, page 58. Do you see a text from January 12th, 2018?
Yes.
Now, the texts in blue are from you, correct?
Correct.
The texts in gray are from Diana.
Correct.
When you said at the top, is it under my name? What are you referring to?
The hotel room.
And how did Diana respond?
She said, "Tell them I left the key with Billy. It's under Diana Copeland."
And does that refresh your recollection as to what happened when you got to the hotel?
Correct.
What happened?
I arrived to the hotel and I let them know that Diana Copeland had given me permission to her room. She said she left the key with Billy. They didn't ask me for any identification, didn't hesitate, gave me the room key and the number.
Now, where, if anywhere, did you go after getting to the hotel?
Once I arrived to the hotel, I didn't go anywhere immediately. I texted Diana and she told me to get ready. A car will be pick me up and take me to the studio where he was.
And where, if anywhere, did you first see the defendant after arriving in LA?
At a studio in LA.
And how did you get to that studio?
Uber.
Do you remember where that studio was located?
In Los Angeles.
Do you remember the specific address?
No.
I'm showing you pages 60 and 61 of Government's Exhibit 208B. These are, again, texts with Diana.
Yes.
And does this show her requesting an Uber for you to get to the studio?
Yes.
Turning to page 61, did you ask her what building number the address was?
Correct.
And did she respond with first 11129 Weddington and then correcting it to 11128?
Correct.
Is that where the Uber took you?
Correct.
And what happened when you approached the building in the Uber?
Once I got out the Uber, Diana met me outside the gate. She let me in. She walked me toward the Sprinter, was parked outside the front of the studio, and she told me to wait in there. That Mr. Kelly would just be a moment.
And where did you see Diana go?
She went into the front part again of the Sprinter, and I went to the back part.
And was anyone inside the Sprinter when you arrived? Other than sorry, was anyone inside the part of the Sprinter you went inside?
No.
And how long did you wait in the Sprinter?
I was waiting in the Sprinter for over an hour.
And at some point, did you need to use the bathroom?
Yes.
I'm showing you again 61 of Government's Exhibit 208B. At the bottom of the page, is that text in blue from you?
Correct.
And is a text to Diana?
Correct.
And what did you write there?
I need to use the bathroom. Laugh out loud.
And turning to the next page, how did Diana respond?
Okay, stand by.
Now, after Diana responded, okay, stand by, what happened?
It was like probably a 15-minute wait before she came to the back and opened the door and let me out to take me to the bathroom.
And where did she take you?
She walked me through the back to the front where the restroom was, the back of the studio to the front.
And do you mean the back entrance of the studio?
Correct.
Now, before you text Diana telling her you needed to use the bathroom, about how long had you been in the Sprinter waiting?
It had already been hours.
Can you go ahead now?
I don't know.
Yes, I'm trying to. Okay, so what line are we on?
We're on line 1 on 2226.
Okay.
Okay.
So after Diana took you to the restroom, where did she take you after that?
Back to the Sprinter.
At some point, did Diana take you anywhere else?
She took me inside, yes.
Inside the studio?
Correct.
And where did she take you?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Where did she take you in the studio?
To the studio, to the actual recording part. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
And can you describe the room that Diana took you to for the jury?
When I walked into the room, I knew I was in the studio. I knew I was in the recording side because there was a piano, there was a stand, a mic stand with a microphone in it. And so if you walk in, I'm looking at this side. So the engineering window is behind me. And all the windows is probably like windows from like that end to this end. They're all covered with like covers, drapes, blankets, curtains. If the curtains couldn't cover it, they'd throw a blanket over it. It was covered. And anybody else was in there. There was a couch in there, a black couch, and there was two rooms. It looked like there was like a lounge room, and then another room had a whole bunch of his stuff in it.
So when you say his stuff, who are you referring to?
R. Kelly's.
And I think you testified that you saw, or what did you say about actually withdrawn? One moment, Your Honor. I'm showing you what's in evidence as Government Exhibits 946. Sorry. What's in evidence as Government Exhibit 946D? And that's a series of photographs that I'm going to show you. Do you recognize these photos?
Correct.
And what do you recognize these photos to be?
The studio I was in.
In LA?
Correct.
And did the studio look exactly like these photos when you were there?
It did not.
How was the
Excuse
studio
me.
different?
The piano was in the middle. There was a big area rug. The lights were dim. There was a long black couch where a few chairs. All these rooms, well, excuse me, that the room on the left side was full of Christmas gifts. And on the right side, that's like the little lounge room. It wasn't that big. There was like two lounge chairs in there.
So the little lounge room is the one I'm pointing to here.
Correct.
I'm showing you the third photograph in Government's Exhibit 946D. This area of the studio room, did it look like that when you were there?
No.
How was it different?
It's different because the windows, you can see them. When I walked in, that whole window was covered. Like I said, there was a couch on that side as well. So your back would be to the window. And there was an area rug.
And so the part I'm pointing to, the window, internal window in the middle, is that the part you're referring to that was covered?
Correct.
And do you recall how it was covered?
There was like curtains, drapes, and then on the corner where I guess the curtains couldn't reach, they just had like tapestry thrown over it.
Now, after Diana took you to that room, what happened?
After Diana took me to that room, she took me in, she walked me in, she walked out. She just said, "Text me if you need anything." I said, "Okay." She said, "He'll be in soon." Maybe around like 15 minutes after we.
So, who do you understand her to be referring to when she said he will be in soon?
R. Kelly.
And then did Diana leave?
She did.
And then what happened after that?
After she left, maybe about 15 minutes, I was just sitting there and he came in really fast. He literally, like, he was jogging and like he was grabbing something. So he jogged in to get something and he jogged out.
Who's the he?
R. Kelly. He said, "Hey, babe." I'm sorry. He said, "Hey, baby." I said, "Hey, babe." It was a really fast interaction.
And did he leave after that?
Yeah,
And how long went by until you saw him again?
hours, a lot of hours.
Now, prior to that, you mentioned that there was a point he came in and out really fast. Is that right?
Correct.
And prior to that day, had the defendant told you anything about what you should do when he entered a room?
I should I should greet him back. I should be standing up greeting him with love when he walks in the room.
And did you do that day?
I did not.
Now, you said you ended up waiting in the room for hours. Is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, did you text Diana?
I did.
And what were you texting her about?
I had to use the bathroom again. And then I had told her, I asked her, like, did he want me to wait still or could I go back to the room after a couple of hours?
Now, I'm going to show you page 62 of Government's Exhibit 208B, which is in evidence. And I'm pointing to the text toward the upper middle, the blue in the blue. Is that the text from you?
Yes.
And what did you write there?
I have to use the bathroom. Laugh out loud. Sorry. Do I wait for you?
And how did Diana respond?
Yes, wait for me.
And what happened after that?
That was like around like two something. So I was waiting for hours and I texted her again and I said, "Can I leave back to go to the room, laugh out loud, or he wants me to wait?"
And that's your text down there.
Yes.
And that's several hours later. Is that right?
Yeah. At 6:20 a.m.
And did Diana respond about an hour later saying, please wait?
Yes.
Now, during the time you were waiting in the, well, first in the Sprinter outside the studio and then inside the studio in that room, what, if anything, did you do?
Nothing. Waiting for him.
So were you given any food at that during that time?
No.
Were you given any water?
No.
Now, at some point, did you see the defendant again?
Yes.
And where did you see him?
In that same room where I was waiting.
So what happened when he came in the room? Actually, Your Honor, this may be a good stopping point.
Oh, all right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break for the day. I will see you tomorrow, same time. Do not talk about the case. Do not read any articles or listen to any news reports of the case. And obviously, do not talk to anybody about it. But please have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Mirage. Okay, the
All right,
witnesses.
put a stopping point.
Hmm?
This needs to be the stopping point. We way
Okay.
past my 2 hour
Yeah,
time.
thought you fell asleep.
There's only a page and a half. You might as well let them finish this day off.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, the witnesses can step out, and I will see you tomorrow. Everybody can have a seat. I'm sorry. I am prepared to rule on the matters we discussed at the side.
Okay.
You were not here, Mr. Scholar. With respect to the applicants to the question witness, I had ruled prior to the trial, pursuant to Rule 412 of the Federal Rules of Evidence, that this was inappropriate to question any of the witness about prior sexual conduct. Oh, really? Even when the court is considering it, if it is only in specific instances where it is offered to prove that someone else was the source of that injury or physical evidence, when it is evidence of specific instances offered to prove consent, consent, prove to offered to prove consent. And the third reason is if excluding the evidence would violate the defendant's constitutional rights. I have looked through the matters of the 3500 material. I do not see, first of all, I do not see any evidence of the nature that counsel said there was. It is precisely the opposite, and none of the exceptions under Rule 412 applies. There is also the additional requirements that it has to be offered 14 days before the trial and that the victim has to be notified. None of those things happen. I think it is inappropriate line of inquiry. I am denying the application and you can have the exception to the ruling.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to add one thing about this for the record.
Sure, but I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Regarding the 14-day rule, if Your Honor recalls, I only mentioned it. In fact, what I did is when I thought the victim opened the door, I asked to approach.
Right.
And that was not an opportunity to give any notice because this was something that came up that the witness of her own volition offered regarding her history. And I just felt as though that, okay, based on that testimony, a door was open for me to make inquiry.
I understand. As I said, I have reviewed the 3500 material. I do not see any basis to do it, so the application is denied. Is there anything else that we have to discuss?
Your Honor, is there a reference in the? Maybe we go to the sidebar on this.
Sure.
Redacted.
Anything else before we break for the day?
Nothing else from us, Your Honor.
Anything from you?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Nothing? Okay, see you tomorrow. And that's it.
That's it.
Wow.
That is it. But that was wrong because she did say about her boyfriend, and so I don't see why.
She opened
That,
the door.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And he had a right to go right through it.
yeah, he did,
Mm-hmm.
and that judge denied
And
him.
especially, she lied and said she was a virgin.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
that was her first time.
Yeah, she was lying.
And my other question is like, you had a choice to stay for hours. Like, you really stayed. So if he didn't come back, why are you asking, should I go to the hotel or not? Take me
Mm,
home. Take me to the hotel. I'm ready to go.
Right.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not sure why you guys are asking permission to do something when this man is giving you free will to go and leave whenever you get ready. He's not
Mm-hmm.
even there half the time. So I don't know.
I think that was all part of the plot. Cause she kept putting laughing out loud, like shit funny.
And
I
then
mean, excuse
and
me,
then
like it was funny.
my yeah, and my point, guys, this all of this sounds rehearsed, like from each individual person. They're following
Mm-hmm.
the same tagline, and
Yeah.
you can tell that this has been put into their psyche. This is what you say. This is the
Mm-hmm.
story. It's like they're
Yep.
telling a story, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
everybody's repeating the same story, just adding themselves into their places. It's
That's
just it
exactly
all
what the
sounds
prosecution was
rehearsed.
doing.
It
And
Yes,
really
it
all
is.
sounds rehearsed.
It
did you
was.
see how she said that he was nice? There was another side to him, but in there she never mentioned that other side. Do you
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying?
No, she just called him. His other side was very sexual. He
Oh,
liked sex.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was his other side. But what's bad about that? What's illegal
But
about
you
that?
kept going back. It's not illegal. You
It sure
Right.
just
was.
you kept going back. Like months had passed and you hadn't even talked to him.
Not
But
that
yet,
she, not just that she kept going back. She kept requesting to go back
yes,
on her
Mm-hmm.
own.
he wasn't even
Mm-hmm.
calling her because I think first of all he was concerned about her being so sickly that he didn't
Yeah,
even want her like going with him
really on the
places.
road then. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And while you're at it, go get a dildo so it could be my size because you too little.
That
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
that didn't make no sense. Most guys, I
In her interview today that she did
gotta be
with
quiet.
her interview she did today with her attorney, she's like, well, my body parts, everybody's seen parts of my body that I didn't want to expose or something she was saying to that.
See, but
But if you look at her social media and things of that nature, that's all she's showing is her body.
thank
Mm-hmm.
just like the other
Mm-hmm.
hot ass.
It's too much.
Well, I know Sylvia's quiet because she's sleepy. It's way past her bedtime.
Well, yeah,
Right,
this is
Sylvia?
all too
I know
interesting.
she's quiet. She is quiet. I know it's well after.
I wanted to
What
get
is it?
panic, but dang, I couldn't hang.
I know.
I know.
I
I
guess
can
we
tell.
probably
I
do.
just I
I guess
just
we
got
do.
in, so I'm ready to read. I
So,
kept
I know.
getting kicked out.
Maybe we do the cross examine tomorrow.
yeah. You was getting kicked off the stream?
I was. I
Okay,
kept
so
Yeah, me
that's the
too.
same thing used to happen to me. What I did is go through Google Chrome through your stream because this is the first time that I was able to hang in there. Well, today, even from this morning,
I
without
think it
being kicked out. I used to be kicked out because I went through the internet browser on your phone if you're on your phone. But if
yeah.
you go through Google Chrome, works like a charm.
Yeah, at first I think I was going in through Safari or something. But
Yeah, yeah.
now when I this the last time I went in through Google Chrome completely
Okay.
and it kept me on there.
Yes, yes. That's a little thing.
But there's how many
Sylvia,
more
you're
people left in
quiet.
the
What's
chat?
up? Yeah, there's 148 people I see in the chat. We appreciate you, but I only see 112 likes. So can we kind of get some of those likes to match the people in the chat? Even
Oh,
though I
so,
see 14 haters on there,
so
but you know.
yeah, they were asking where does she do a meeting today?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we had the attorney on this morning right there. Was very good. It was
no, I'm
really
saying
good
what
appeals attorney.
no, I'm saying this girl, Faith, she did
Oh, she did an interview today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she did an interview on
Gloria
Gloria
Allred.
Allred
Mm-hmm.
YouTube
Oh
channel.
God.
have it that maybe they could read it. Does someone have it? That I have it, but I don't know how to talk on my
I
phone.
think Sylvia. I think Charlie
I
was
posted
gonna.
up in the chat the link to the Gloria Allred video.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That
people can watch that because it was her dad. If you look at his facial, did you guys pay attention to the dad that's standing behind her? He seemed a little bit irritated. I'm not sure if he was irritated with the questioning, or he kind of was like, "Oh my God, I'm over this." His body language was kind of weird.
me irritated when I read that stuff.
I don't even look at that old.
I know I don't like to neither.
GA.
But
Then
did
she's
you
just a
see,
media tool.
Yeah, yeah, she
She's one of
really
those
is.
garden tools right there.
Hmm.
GA. So nah, I can care less what she out there trying to parade and do.
Okay,
did you s-
everybody, it's
I
time
posted
to
it in the
go.
chat, the link.
did
Thank you
you guys
guys.
hold on
Hello?
Miss Sylvia? Did you guys see where R. Kelly is 500?
And 17% over in sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, we don't want to have a lot of conversation on these things when we're doing these.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
exactly.
right.
I will
Sorry.
Exactly.
we will stop and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock Central Standard, 7 o'clock West Coast time on Sylvia's other page. It's going to be down. It's going to be fun. Enjoy. Appreciate you coming. Good
All right.
night, chat people.
Good
Good
night,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Sylvia.
Good night.
Bless you.